to do with them, because I've been doing goofy stuff like that since I started the podcast in 2018, and even before that when I had an internet radio show called The Chopping Block. But I've been doing this kind of stuff for a while, so it's fun to share. I've got some funny ones I'm going to do. I got AR Hayes lined up for the next one. I'm going to be going to Vegas in that commercial, or that intro. So it should be funny, and see if AR can control me in my wheelchair in Vegas. So should be funny, and probably get lucky to do one for us too. And just different creators doing funny stuff, and then I'd like to get some viewers doing some if they're game. It's super easy to do, and I can record it real fast, and you'll be immortalized. You'll get your 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, I was surprised at how easy it was for you and I to cut that video. It happened very
Yeah.
quickly. And
No, dude. Like I said, I've been doing it for so long. I just write the script and say, here, you
I'm not
can
even
read
good
it
at
right
that.
as I wrote it, or you can kind of,
Yeah,
do your thing. You did great
I
ad
ad-libbed
libbing
that.
it. Yeah, it totally was you. That's why when I watched that video of you spitting and going crazy over something, I'm like, oh, dude, I got to get this guy angry in an intro and get him all fired up. And
I was gonna say I don't think I can go from 0 to 60 and like on the
right,
fly.
right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun though, and
Yeah,
we have like guys doing accents that start out like with a German accent, and then it morphs into Cheech Marin at the end. Like,
I'm
I
horrible at
don't
accents.
even know what happened, but they're so funny, and we save a lot of the outtakes too. So a lot of the outtakes are part of it, and so those are really funny, and we put them out as like a song in and of it, or a file in and of itself with all the mistakes, and it's really funny listening to those. So, but anyway, good to see you guys, and Lee here from the Devil's Advocates. How you've been? You've been so busy.
I have been extremely busy, yeah, and it's like, and I'm behind because like all these people have been done doing the document dumps and they're already done. It seemed like people were giving their takes on it within. It seemed like within hours of it coming out, and like, okay, I've done all 317 documents, and here's the thing, and I'm like, are you
Right.
shitting me?
You
Like,
wonder how fast they read, or how many people they had helping them.
well, somebody suggested that people might be using AI to analyze the documents, but even so, I think AI would have a hard time with all the redactions in there for editing that stuff on the fly. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I tried at first. I was all about like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to go through these docs as they're coming out and stuff, and commenting with you like you did. But after the first one came out, there was so much in there. I'm like, there's no way I could do this. So
Yeah,
I just right at the beginning just cut my losses and just said, I'm gonna sit this part of it out, soak in what I can, and then talk about it later. And
and think
people want
about
to hear
this.
it. So what?
For me, I'm
So what?
for me, I'm covering three
Better.
cases. Sorry about that. I keep stepping on you, Pete.
No,
I keep
that's all
stepping
right,
on you.
buddy.
I'm covering three cases, and I have legal docs being dropped on me in the Luigi Mangione case. I had somebody
Wow.
hand me some early legal documents in the Rex Heuermann case, a Long Island serial killer. So like I'm like all I've been doing is legal breakdowns of legal documents and stuff like that, which is funny
That's
because I'm not
so
an attorney,
cool.
but
You play one on TV though,
I slept at a Holiday Inn last
and
night.
you get the best leg muscles of any attorney too.
What is with the leg muscles thing, dude?
You told that story about you playing football.
Right? I did,
About
man.
your legs, or
You could not bring my ass
nobody can
down.
bring you down, dude.
Nobody could bring me down. I bet you this day. I bet you
fridge.
to this day, I could probably carry 20 guys if I was turning the legs.
I was laughing so goddamn hard hearing you tell that story, dude. That was great. You need to do more of that kind of stuff. I try to throw in some funny stories, and every now and then people get all sideways about it. And it's like, man, if you want me to just do this like Bueller, nobody's going to watch it. I mean, I've been doing training for a long time to know you want guys to fall asleep on you. There's a way to do that. There's a way to keep them intrigued and responding and into
Yeah,
it. I think a lot of the lives that I've done here, I'm very fortunate that I've got a group that does, get into the comments and gets, talking about stuff. And I think that's great. They've got a good relationship with each other. And then through me and you know, as the creators doing this, people like the combo of you and I. So that's super cool. You talk super fast, which is hilarious because I'm the one that's from the Bronx, but
Yeah.
I've been out in the Midwest for a long time. I'm pretty Midwesternized now, but I never was like that though with the fast speaking. But you could definitely see if you watch like video of me. There's an old band video of my first band, Sacred Oath, and we did a video that was like a Halloween special, and they had us play a song on that and interviewed us. But it's on YouTube. But in that one, you could definitely hear my accent. I'm like 19 or 20, and I got like hair like down to here, and it's pretty funny, yeah, to see it.
Somebody's gonna get mad because last time we talked about tattoos, they got pissed. So I'll try to be brief. But yeah, I tried to grow out my hair when I think I told you one time I had a brief moment as the lead singer of a band. I had groupies for one day, and then I chickened out because I got stage fright. But anyways, the longest I could grow my hair was my shoulder. As soon as it hit my shoulder, it would all curl up on me, and I was like, and I was so envious of the guys that could have the big, huge, long hair, '80s rock hairband shit. I was like, I want to be that guy.
Right.
It didn't work. Anyways. I could go on and on. I just said I wasn't going to.
Oh no, it's funny. I mean, my hair was a mess. I mean, it was just a mess, and I was balding early, so it was pretty much just covering all that up, when it started, and then as I got older and cut it, I had to come to grips with I'm not doing a comb over. I'm just going to deal with it. Then I just decided to shave it. After I got out of the army, I just started shaving my head because it was just easier than waiting on my wife at the time to use the clippers and do it like we did it when I was in the army to save money because it got expensive. I was in a line unit where our hair couldn't touch our ears or our collar, and my hair grew really fast. So I was doing like a haircut every 10 days or something, it seemed like, to keep it back. And it would have cost a fortune to go to the barber. So she had to learn how to do it. But I didn't have the patience for that. So I just said, screw it, and did the razor. And I still use the razor to this day. So anyway,
Well, I would have talked more, but I'm trying to keep the dogs off my microphone because my wife is sleeping. My dogs are going nuts because somebody knocked at the door, and I'm in a studio. I'm not
of
going to answer the
course,
door. They're just going to have to eat it. So the
no, it's
dogs are
all
going to have to
good.
bark
It's
apparently,
all
and I'm going
good.
to cover my mic.
It's all good. But yeah, I wanted to say hello to some people here in the chat. Sorry we didn't get to that quicker, but Amanda Smith, Donna Lembo, one of our mods, the badass from New York. We got Jethro Tull in here, so apparently, or Jethro Troll, that's a good one. Joanne Murdoch, voice of astrology, excellent.
Jethro Troll, is that what you said?
Yeah, I thought it said Jethro Tull, but it's Jethro Troll.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
That's hilarious.
Sandra S., Kimberly, Texas, Isles of Shoals is always here. Good to see you here. Joanne Murdoch, Robin the Redneck, that's a good one. And Robin the Redneck is a mod as well.
Yeah, she's one of my mods on my channel too. So yeah, and
Yeah.
she's been doing fantastic for me. So
Maybe that's what that means. I can't tell. Maybe it's one of yours and not.
yeah, I think
That
I'm trying to
doesn't
sort
ring a
out.
bell to me.
Yeah,
That doesn't ring a bell to me. So she may just be yours.
it's all good. We
Yeah,
can share alike. I'm a sharing kind of guy.
right. But yeah, so many people here um, that are, just so many to mention. I see here Black Sox 19, originally from the Bronx. Nice. Yeah, I was born there. Lived there till I was 6, and then I moved to Connecticut, right across the New York line. Good to see everybody. And we're talking Idaho 4 tonight for you guys. I know Lee's been knee deep in these docs coming out. So I thought good time to get him in to talk about that. So we're going to do it. I know you've probably seen some of this on other channels, but I'll be completely honest with you. A lot of the analysis, Lee, that I saw you personally do on your channel was among the best, if not the best, at moving through the stuff, doing it at a good pace. making sure you weren't losing people, but at the same time moving through it.
Yeah, uh, I can't help but making jokes at inappropriate times, and I think that's working for me because a lot of people say that the jokes and the humor is helping them get through a really dry sense of so it's dry
Yeah,
material, right? And if you just read it, it's not
right.
it's just gonna put you out. So every so often, I just let the humor fly as it comes to me. It often comes to me because I find a lot of shit funny at inappropriate times. So that comes out in the things, and I think that helps with the long deep from both myself and for people watching deep dives. So.
Yeah, that's cool. And if you're not familiar with Lee, I know we've done some work together here, but if you're not, please go check him out. Devil's Advocates 2024, some good stuff, man. I'm a huge fan of it, and there's a lot of good creators out there, but I really dig what you're doing, and
Thank you.
you're doing yeoman's work over there. But everybody, like always here today, we want to avoid the nonsense. So if anybody's acting like an idiot, the mods are going to kick them out. It's that simple. I know Donna and Catherine S. don't fool around. They're the two mods out there. And then I can do it as well. And we have others on standby that just kind of jump in and out. But usually the girls handle it with no problem. So I don't want to distract you guys because you're here to hear what we got to say and interact with us in your own comments. So I want to make you guys feel comfortable in asking questions and raising points and having it be part of what we're doing. So, but with that, don't forget to like the video, okay, and subscribe if you're not a subscriber to my channel, Murder Metal Mayhem, or Devil's Advocates, whichever the case may be. Make sure you subscribe to both and then comment. If you could take the time to comment on both channels, that'd be awesome. But I get you're busy. But you can comment and that helps the channel or the video get out there to more people. So all right, Lee. Well, what about the docs? I mean, I know there's a lot, but
Yeah.
what were some of the highlights? I mean, the stuff that just really completely blew your mind.
Um, the highlights were what I see is a lot of people with alternative motives and alternative suspects that seem much more plausible than Brian Koberger that were early dismissed and completely ruled out. Creepy people that were following, Maddie or being hands-on at the bar that were kicked out that night. Ex-boyfriends who may have been pissed off about things that are all of these really interesting stories. And what we ended up with somebody who we can't make any connection to the girls whatsoever. Had no idea what they were. May have literally just picked the house at random that night. We're not even sure he picked, according to the prosecution. That's all. So I'm thinking to myself, we're looking at all these people who have alternative motives or much more creepy and realistic questions, and you focused on the guy that you can't place at the house. That was takeaway number one. Takeaway number two was the moment that law enforcement, in my opinion, became clearly single focused, where they were looking at multiple people. They were doing wide scope Google searches, for example, who all was looking into the Idaho 4 murders and the girls and whatever around that time. Let's look at everybody. Right. And then when the FBI gave them Brian Koberger's name, they stopped that process and said, now let's only look at Brian Koberger and what connections can we make Brian Koberger? And I'm like, that was it. That was as soon as it was very clear to me in the documents that as soon as Brian Koberger's name was told to them by law enforcement, all investigation and alternative methods went out the window, and we became narrow focused on finding some way to connect Koberger to the girls. And even after 2.5 years, the response is, we really wanted to make a connection between him and the girls, and we never could. Even when they tried their damnedest to spend the entire 2.5 years making a connection between him and the girls. That's huge.
That is huge. And I mean, some say that he should be let out and retried, or have the whole thing just completely thrown out, in light of the fact that there is absolutely no evidence that puts him in the house with those victims, like you said, not surveilling them and getting them creeped out. He no contact. Even at the Mad Greek, they were pounding that.
Yeah.
Right. That he must have been in there watching Maddie and
They repeated that on multiple documentaries.
Yeah. And it's not even true. I mean, I want to know what kind of charges could they be brought up on? I
Yeah.
mean, it's got to be prosecutorial misconduct at a minimum.
Right, but it
Serious.
requires a judge like Hitler to hold them accountable, and that's never going to happen,
Yeah,
in my
that's the
opinion.
truth, dude. I think you think you may have nailed that, but yeah, I mean, it's it's sickening to think that somebody could do what they did to a person if he's innocent,
Right.
to put him in prison for life upon life upon life, not going anywhere, no appeal, no nothing. You're in there. You're not going anywhere. To
And
have
this is
that kind of power to wield that, you
right,
better damn well have your shit together.
right.
And these people are anything but having their shit together. I mean, if I was to look up I don't have my shit together in the encyclopedia, it would be a big group shot of Bill and the rest of those idiots. Because Brett
Yeah.
Payne would be dressed up like a little elf, maybe, in the front.
Yeah, I mean, and the problem is, I mean, here's the reality. I mean, you and I both say things from time to time like there's absolutely no evidence he did the kind of thing, not real strong evidence. And yet, here's the thing that sucks ass, and people are going to hate me saying it. At the end of the day, the evidence is Brian Koberger said I did it. So as soon as he said he did it, that's it for people. For most people, that's it. He said he did it. So it doesn't matter. Like
Right.
for us to say there isn't a strong case, like the counter to us would be, what stronger case that you have than he said he did it? It's done. But it's funny because even saying that, I just was literally walking past a TV and the Innocence Project was on, and I heard them say the words, we were looking at this guy's confession when he pled guilty, and it was completely suspicious. And so we reopened the case. And I'm like, I'm telling you, people plead guilty all the time to things they didn't do. And the
Right.
Innocence Project will take people who said, I'm guilty and I did that crime, and go back and
Right.
say, yeah, I don't fucking buy it. And they'll go back and relook at it. So, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, and in regard to that, I mean, what would be, I know you've covered this, I've done it as well. I mean, what would be some reasons legitimate reasons that a person might say that they did it when they didn't? And I would throw one in the ring of being coerced, whether it
Yeah,
be behind bars or out on the street or both.
I can think of six. I can think of at least six, probably.
You're either falling on the sword and taking it, or we'll make your life miserable for as long
Yeah.
as you could survive in prison.
Yeah.
I think most people would probably opt for option A, and that's why, that kind of stuff happens quite a bit. But I don't know. To me, that would be one pretty legit reason if he was screwing with the wrong people.
Right. I think that's a possibility. I think people underestimate how much people want to live. So if Brian Koberger was convinced that there was no way he was getting a fair trial and they were going to convict him of something he didn't do, and he was convinced that there wasn't any chance he had of winning that it was a rigged jury trial, then I can see that also, a person pleading guilty. So at least you have a life. It may not be a great life. You spend the rest of your life in jail, but you at least have a life. Whereas you believe if you fight it, you're going to lose and they're going to kill you. And so I can see that as being a motivation. Another motivation is a bad one for people that want to say that he's completely innocent is maybe he had co-conspirators and and this sounds horrible, maybe he's a stand-up guy and isn't going to rat out the people that he was with. And he's like, well, fuck it. I'm not going to tell anything. I'm keeping my mouth shut, like the mob, right? You don't talk. When you're in the mob, you don't talk. So
The omerta, yeah,
I'll take the fall if I have to.
shit.
Right. So
Yeah,
I mean,
without
a
a
million
doubt.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, that mafiosa stuff is harsh, and no mercy on that. So that's nothing to fool with either of those groups.
Especially if you care about your family, right? Because I mean, if you take those recent videos like Omerta and the mafia thing, they'll kill your whole family, right? And so again, if you want to buy Brian Koberger's a sociopath and he doesn't care about his family, then he doesn't give a fuck about his family. But if he's not a sociopath and he does care about his family, which, by the way, the last document I reviewed today, number 200, whatever, is 194. Anyways, the last one I did a review on, Brian Koberger's first concerns after he got arrested is, how are my parents doing and how is my dog? Which he asked multiple times. This does not fly in the face of somebody who's a sociopath. A sociopath doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. So constantly asking, how are my parents and how are my dog? How are my parents? How are my dog? Flies in the face of the sociopath narrative in the first place. He shouldn't give a shit about anybody but himself, but he does. So
that's very true. I had to throw this one up here. I was just catching it quick in the chat. But Nora Divergente, very nice Italian name. Don't mess with the mafia. Definitely don't fool with that at all. I agree. We did an episode. I've told this story before, but it bears repeating. We did an episode on a guy named Tommy Karate. I don't remember his real name, but Tommy was a muscle guy for the one of the crime families, and we're talking like brutal stuff, like um, sawing people in parts in the bathtub and packing them in suitcases. And what he did was he put them in a wildlife, like a reserved, like government controlled, like wildlife area, so they couldn't dig them up.
Wow.
So they know they're in there, but they can't touch them because of the laws of the because it's protected, you know. So
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
it is actually, but anyway, we did a podcast about him, and in the book that was written about Tommy's life, the author would refer to his voice as very squeaky, like Mickey Mouse or something like that. And so we were having some laughs about it on the podcast because it sounded kind of funny from this total badass, you know, having a high voice like that. And so we did this, and then about 2 months later, I'm getting messages on Facebook from some boxing coordinator in Vegas. I'm not exaggerating. That knew Tommy, and that Tommy is in, I think, a federal prison in Pennsylvania or somewhere in that neck of the woods, and that he found out about what you guys said about him, and he doesn't like it.
Oh,
And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, like, this guy inside a federal prison, and apparently it was one of his visitors that's been keeping an eye out for any mentions of him in the press. And so she must have heard our podcast and then went ahead and told Tommy about it. So I'm like freaking out, you know, because I don't need that in my life, you know. And
no.
we were
Yeah.
just goofing, man. Like we were just goofing. But the
Yeah.
thing that's funny is he wanted me to issue a retraction, and just to say that he doesn't sound like Mickey Mouse, he sounds more like Joe Pesci. And I'm like, okay. And he says, and that I'm not a serial killer, which I never called him a serial killer because I was doing my job for, you know, the family I worked for, or something to that effect. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man. And this is all through this middleman. You know, I didn't deal with the inmate myself, but we did the
Yeah.
retraction, and so we decided let's put the brakes on any more mafioso stories, unless the person's been gone for, you know, a long time and everybody associated with it is gone. Then maybe we'll do it, but
Wow.
definitely can be a little hairy. So yeah, you'd be surprised how far our voices reach when you hear a story like that. So
Well, not to side tangent too much, because I know people might. But do you ever get a little nervous when you're doing true crime that somebody's going to threaten you and tell you to shut the hell up about things, or you're talking about alternate suspects and you might tangle into their thing, like you better shut the hell up? Yeah, you ever worry about that?
you're asking me that?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I don't really worry about it. I mean, I do think about it, and
Yeah.
I do try my best to say allegedly, and remind people that these are just my speculations and that sort of thing. But I got a cease and desist from. I'm not going to say who it was, but it wasn't a person; it was an organization associated with that neck of the woods in Idaho, and I had to, stop doing something with the thumbnail that they didn't like.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I had to, like, tell them, hey, I had no idea, blah blah blah, and took it
I
down.
remember that. I remember that.
That was it. But that's really all. And then I did get an email. The guy said he was Saeed.
Oh, wow.
It came to. I'm trying to think which, because I have several emails. It came in, and then the name with it instead of saying like, Pete Altieri, it was Saeed from Syria or something like that. And I was like, okay, what the is this, And he's talking about, you better take my picture off your thumbnails and this and that. And you need to mind your own business. He said, go get another hobby, old man. And shit
Wow.
like that. Yeah, he was fucking going crazy. And I'm just like, what the hell? So I don't even know if I answered him. I usually just leave that kind of thing alone because it's
Yeah.
just going to fan the fire.
Right.
And then the next live I did, while I was talking, somebody in the chat I saw in the corner of my eye said, "Is that the real Saeed?" So apparently he was in the chat
Hmm.
the next live I did. But then by the time I like really heard what they said and looked, he wasn't there anymore. But I'm just like, man, bushy eyebrow guy. I mean, man, you want to talk about the bushiest eyebrows ever seen? That's definitely Saeed, and he was coming from 1122 King Road at what was that? Just before 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Pretty good timing. He was coming from Matt's house. He said, which is more than likely Matt Moyer, who lives behind, or lived, I should say, he's not there now. Lived behind the house on King Road, up on that hill,
Uh-huh.
one that had the perfect view of the house from his back deck.
Uh-huh.
He had a friggin' telescope out there, so we can only imagine what kind of shit he was trying to pull up there. So, and he used to go walk his dog with Kaylee and Murphy. So sometimes, so he
And do a
definitely
little,
did them.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's a
There was
lot
a
of
lot
people
of
that
talk
have,
about him in the very beginning, but
yeah.
that faded pretty quick, and he joined the Air Force and went to like South Dakota or something, and nobody ever really looked into it. But I did a couple videos on it because I found it kind of interesting with the
Yeah.
proximity he had to the end view of that house.
Yeah.
It would make me want to give him the good once through to make sure he was clean.
Yeah, it would be nice to see if some of these people will talk now that it's over. But the problem that I have with that is I don't want to be that guy being accused of these effing YouTubers are harassing people, and I don't harass people. So while I would love to see who's willing to talk, I don't see myself going knocking on doors and asking people things because they might see that as harassment. And I have never reached out to somebody, especially a victim or a family member of a victim, to say, "Hey, can you talk about your?" It's not something I can really bring myself to do.
No, I don't like to do anything with the victims' families. That's kind of sacred thing. Just leave them alone. Steve G. I mean, he was putting himself out there so hardcore that I think he was fair game just because he
He
was
was,
he was
yeah,
just ridiculous. But the
yeah.
rest of them, leave them alone. Here I see this comment from Don't Be Hating. Nice. And Matt, that's a good one. I had to really look at it for a second. And Matt had a weird alibi during that time that didn't make any sense. We know there was a party for sure because they all said they were coming from Matt's, and he was, I mean, anybody would be in that environment. Game night, hell yeah, partying. Sunday night, who gives a shit? Or Saturday night, partying all full tilt because yeah, that would have been Saturday night. So yeah, I'm sure there was all kinds of partying going on there. So no surprise about Matt. But anyway, I have a thing on the creeper there. If you guys have noticed, I have a new show coming out on the channel. I thought I'd share with you guys and give you a little sneak peek. It's going to be called the Serial Killer Story Hour, and so I'm going to do a serial killer each week. I'm going to do them live. I'm going to do them on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. That's Central Time, and it'll be just 1 hour or less. And I'm going to do more of the obscure serial killers. I'm not going to do a lot of. I'll do them here and there because on the podcast we've done 286 episodes, so we've covered a bunch of them. But I'm going to try to stick to the more lesser known. And you guys on that did my poll agreed with that because I gave you the option of Gacy, Dahmer, Bundy, or Joel Rifkin, and Rifkin won hands down. And everybody in the comments was saying, "I love that because I don't know anything about him." And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. That's why I threw that one in and hoped that that's how they would go." So yeah, so we're gonna do that. Should be a lot of fun. We'll be live, and it'll be just 1 hour or less. So I've got a video that I want to show you. It's going to be the intro for my for this new show, and I'm going to share this with you. Hopefully, this doesn't screw anything up. I've never done this just playing like a video clip for you, so hopefully it doesn't screw anything up. Here we go. Okay, boys and girls, gather around. That's right, grab a seat and listen to this story I'm going to tell you. It's a dark tale, so if you need to hold hands, that's all right. We're going to pull out a story that's 1 hour or less to tell from this collection I'd like to call Serial Killer Story Hour, brought to you by your friends at Murder Metal Mayhem. Remember to be respectful in the chat, and if this isn't your thing, then go somewhere else. I don't want to upset anyone. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Enjoy the show. So there you go. Would you guys think about that? Let's see in the comments. Anybody like that? Anybody digging on that?
Yeah.
He says loves it already. That's cool. Very cool.
Hey, Crime Time, thanks for saying hi, by the way. I just saw somebody was saying hi to me, so just
Nice.
dropped a quick
Robin
hello.
the Redneck said nice intro.
Yes.
Very good. All right, cool.
I keep trying to work on little improvements to my stuff and but I gotta get down those intros, kind of like, well, I'm not gonna copy your intros, but your intro is pretty cool. I love it.
I enjoy doing them. There are a few people that say I couldn't wait the minute I did
Yep.
the video, and I'm like,
Yep.
I don't know what to tell you. If you can't wait a minute, literally, or you can't just skip that first little bit till I start doing the video. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't even know what to say about that level of stupidity, but I get it in my comments.
Really.
Not a lot, but enough to be annoying. Enough to be annoying. But
there are a lot of unhappy
majority
people.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
They were psyched that you and I did that one together. So there'll be more. There'll be more. So what else about the doc drop? One thing that blew my mind was the Jack Showalter apartment stuff, Lee. I mean, what in the world?
Right. Well, I mean, when
go over there is what I'm wondering. What made them go over there?
Yeah. Right. Right. Like it makes me think they had a suspicion already, obviously, right? And which they're not mentioning in the documents why they were over there, which is a great observation. I mean, I didn't even hit that in my document review. Why the hell were they over in the first place?
Right. That's what I was wondering. Were they following him, or
right? And you have
dogs hit on because he was over right across the street.
Yeah.
They had dogs out there. Maybe a dog picked up the scent of somebody,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was maybe it was because of that video footage. They said they had some video footage of an individual leaving that area at 3-something in the morning and walking through the path going to 1122 King Road residence. Maybe it was that video that they're like, hey, let's go over to this neighborhood and look at doors. Let's just randomly look at doors. Oh, hey, here's a door where the dust isn't on the doorknob and there's blood on the thing. Maybe we should get a search warrant for that. Was it a random chance, or did they get a tip? I don't know.
Yeah, and the fact that he noticed that blood drop was like the same size and pattern as the one on the banister, that was interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
So you got all that drama, and then the hardware on the door was not only like clean, but it was like polished, like it was brand new. So
yes, right.
So his door, of all the doors on this apartment, building. His door was the only one that didn't have the film of dust
Yeah,
and had the brand new hardware.
yeah.
Okay,
And,
so
and so that was part of the question is, was it brand new hardware, or is it just that it had been
that he
cleaned
cleaned it.
off?
Yeah, I know that. I don't know.
Because that's
That
the
I
part I
don't
was
know.
like,
Just one
I thought they were just trying to presume that, or assume, or
that
suggest
he
that it had
cleaned
been
it.
wiped off, that it had been wiped off so good that it was clean and free of dust, as opposed to other things. Um,
Right.
but by the way, I'm not prone to making major mistakes. By the way, I have to tell you an embarrassing moment. I'm reading the documents, right? And there was one of these tips. There's a lot of tips in the documents that I just read that they were following up that turned out to be incorrect tips. People who said they saw Koberger getting a lap dance, for example. People who saw, different things. And one person was talking about, I had a foreign car parked outside my house. And I said on the video, well, he doesn't have a foreign car. That's dumb. A Elantra is an American car. And someone goes, I don't think you understand what foreign car means. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. He means foreign as in not from this neighborhood, not as in foreign car. Because I was thinking so I was like, I get it now. I just look like an idiot because I'm like, he doesn't have a foreign car. You're a dumbass. And I'm like, they meant like it was not a car from around here. So
Right.
anyway, it's easy to misread things and misunderstand things.
Oh yeah, it is. And when the information's flying at you 100 miles an hour, it's there's stuff can get missed. Um, but uh, but yeah, I think there's that, and then what did they have to do? They had to get a warrant to go inside,
To
and
Showalter's place?
yeah,
Yeah. So
then that would have taken some time.
I was a little confused about that because, well, to be fair, I don't think I got to the document about the blood samples inside the house. What had happened, from what I understand, is, and again, this is the question: was it an officer lying about something so he can get a search warrant, or was it, or was it true? So the officer supposedly sees blood on the door down low, but that wasn't enough. They have to get a warrant to test the blood in the first place, and so they have to have a reason for a judge to give them a warrant to search the blood on the door in the first place. Then
Right.
then it was basically, if the blood is presumptive for human blood and it's not just animal blood or something, then you can get a warrant to go in the house if you have probable cause for why is it, so it was kind of a process. Like, okay, I have to first get the ability to take the swab off the door, which technically that's out in the public, so I don't know if you would need a warrant for that. But if it tested positive for blood, they could get entry to the house. So yeah, it was interesting to see that play out. But I don't think I've even read the document about. I mean, I did hear that there was. We talked about the 94 samples of blood inside the house, and you had a
Right.
great correction. I think you should go over that again because it was a great thing
Yeah,
that I kept waiting for a typo to be like, is this a typo 94? And it is kind of a typo from what you said, and I think you got it.
it is. Yeah, I think that's correct. But yeah, so they eventually get in there, but if this is going back and forth, he's lawyered up from the first second. So you got a lawyer on his side probably telling him, or probably just hiring somebody to go in there and clean up the mess so that eventually when they get back in there, it's spotless in there.
I honestly thought the maintenance worker and the water problem inside the apartment was a law enforcement tactic, because
I
again,
thought so too.
the maintenance worker doesn't need permission to go into the unit if there's something going on that's damaging their property, right? So
Right.
Showalter's out of town. He's not giving them permission to go in his place. So if the police, I'm not saying this happened, but if the police says to, hey, you're a maintenance worker here, can we nudge you to say there might be a water problem in that thing? You should go take a look at it. Let us know what you find inside, and if it's worth doing it because you tell us something's inside, we'll go get a warrant to search the place. So did they have the maintenance worker make
That's
up the
very
story about the water
possible.
problem to get in and say, yeah, man, there's blood everywhere. Okay, then we're going to get a warrant for that place.
Yeah,
So
dude, that's very, very possible. That's a great observation. And I'm sure that's the legal wranglings going on in a case like this when you got him all lawyered up like that with his parents' money. I mean, they were loaded. There's a Showalter Road in Moscow. I mean, they're
right,
they're thick as thieves up there. But anyway, so it's certainly very suspicious. Now, could it be animal blood? Yes, of course. He was a
right,
hunter,
yeah.
but let's test it, and if they were tested, I haven't seen yet, and I haven't gone through everything or heard people go through everything that any of those samples were tested. Now,
And
in regard to the typo, though, before I forget, in
yes,
regard to the typo, if you look at number 73, that's the document we're referring to. If you look at that, that's from Corporal Payne, and it goes through it. And at the top of it, there were, if I remember correctly, there were long numbers like VIN numbers. But I used to work a lot with laboratories in my old job, and they reminded me of lab numbers like you would get when you turn samples in to be analyzed for whatever. There were four of them. And then this whole thing, like what Lee and I were talking about with the blood spot on the door and then going inside, all that. And then when it came to the end of the report, if you read the end of document 73, it says 194 samples were collected. So of course everybody's like, holy crap, that's a lot of damn samples in an apartment, when they only did, what was it, 200 in that whole King Road house or some
Yeah.
ridiculous crap like that that took
Right.
barely any samples.
Yeah.
So so that so that's like overkill. But then if you look at the document, you could see after the four, there's the parentheses on the outside of that four. And if you look at your keyboard, your number 9 is where the left parentheses would be. So that makes sense that it was intended to be a parentheses, not a 9, saying that there were four samples collected. In my opinion, that's the deal there. I think that's how.
And
Um,
again, though, here's the thing I think people are missing. People are assuming that the blood inside of Showalter's apartment is probably the victim's blood. And I don't believe that's likely at all. And the reason being is there's no blood tracked outside the house. So if he was to get it to his apartment, he would have to have dripped blood. If you think he walked all the way back to his house, there would have been blood along the way. Now, granted, it's possible they just didn't search for it. Maybe it was there on the ground all over the place and they just didn't look. But more than likely what's the case is that he himself got cut if he was involved, and it's
right.
his blood. And so you could see how maybe even if they tested it and said, oh, it's his own blood, nothing to see here. Well, no, that's not the end of the story. How did his hand get cut? Did he get cut in the attack? So even if it's his blood, it's not the end of the story. Unless, of course, you're Hitler and you say, well, the killer arrived in a car, so it can't be Showalter because he walked over, so he can't be the killer.
Exactly. So ridiculous. No, but solid points, man. I agree with you there. I think, and that glove, I mean, think about it. I don't know where in relation to his apartment that the glove was they found outside, but what if that was his glove and he threw it down to see what was going on with his hand and he was bleeding bad, and then was able to get into his apartment and get it cleaned up in the sink there, and that's where the smudges come from. So there was one smudge by the bathroom light switch, one smudge on the toilet flush handle, and two on the shower curtain. So there's your four samples. So, but whether they were analyzed or not, I don't know. And then we've got this whole mishandling. If ever there was a mishandling of evidence in my entire life, I hope I never see anything like this again. But what happens, Lee? I mean, first you got a refrigerator going down, right?
Yeah, right. Like I can't. If nothing reeks more of a cover up than a refrigerator with an important sample breaks down. Oh shit, we just lost the sample. Or a building burns down and evidence in the case. Oh shit, we lost them. I'm like, if I were a fiction writer and I wrote that shit, you'd be like, yeah, this part of your plot, by the way, is weak because that would never happen. Yeah. Like, fucking Moscow Police Department, it happens all the time, apparently.
Exactly.
So, but you wouldn't believe it.
I mean, give me a break with this. I mean, give me a break. Yeah. The most lame scenario. And the problem is what are you going to do? I mean, the stuff's burned to the ground. I mean, there was an evidence shed behind they're in a different situation now, new building. And apparently the evidence is kept in this like centralized portal, I guess, to avoid random fires and windstorms and God knows what else over there to ruin all this evidence. But they had it in an evidence shed, so it made it so easy for some fool
to light it on fire.
That took $150 and some
Right.
crack and
Right.
just lit it up and just drove off and whew, you know, nobody on any cameras, a police station. How does that happen? Nobody's on any kind of camera, so we don't know who did this. I mean,
Yeah.
very, very shady. So sus. I
And
mean,
and the thing that sucks
ridiculous.
is everybody can see now that the evidence sucks, the police reports suck, the story behind the fridge and the burning the shed sucks, and the bottom line is, here's what I think their response is, which is this: what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? He pled guilty. This is over. So shut up. You know,
Right.
there's nothing you can do. There's just nothing you can do. So
Yeah, it is very frustrating because that, you know, that should be a any citizen should want that, because if you were in this situation, you'd sure as hell, you know, want things being done on the up and up. And this is anything but with the shady fires. I mean, that is the corniest thing off the shittiest crime drama on TV, you know, overdone to death, these imaginary little blazes that go up. But Gen X Aunt Whitney, excuse me, says, as a retired lab tech, I believe that you don't have to guess if you just had to get it tested. Yeah, I mean, it makes absolutely no sense that any samples, I don't know how many times I've said this, but how no samples should be left untested. I'm in a crime involving a capital murder case like this. I know that
yeah,
was off the table at the end, but up to the end, they were pulling this crap, and it's like, how is that a thing? Like, I don't understand how the defense can't require them to sample it or analyze it. I mean, they collected the sample, so they have the sample, but I don't understand how if it's a potential, you know, exculpatory situation, then you would think legally they'd have to give it to them, you know. But
there were
I
some
don't understand. I'm not a lawyer, but I have no idea.
there were some weird moments, and I feel like I shouldn't bring it up because I can't tell you the exact moments, but there were some weird moments when Ann Taylor, in the police reports, is documented as asking for things like evidence of Dylan's or whatever, and they had already given the evidence back to the families and had to go, oh, sorry, we prematurely released that. Let us go get that back for you. Or she'll come in and say, hey, I want the video footage of the suspects, or not the suspects, but the witnesses who were outside the house. Where did you, when you brought them into the police station? Oh, well, all we have is the lobby footage. We don't have the video footage of them inside the. It was like, I mean, how many times did they tell Ann Taylor, oops, we don't have that information. Oops, we already contaminated that stuff, but you can look at it after the fact. Oops, we don't have that video footage. I'm like, there was no fair trial. This was a shit show very early on, and just kept getting
Right.
worse. So
No, you're exactly right. Bad Mom Bree says Showalter called MPD to say he was with Maddie.
and they didn't know Kaylee,
He
right?
didn't know Kaylee, which is so ridiculous. And then a few days later, they asked him to give a DNA swab, and he took off.
And I guess there's a way to explain this. I want to leave her comment for a moment, because you're right. So he said he knew Maddie, he didn't know Kaylee. On video footage, when the police officers come and examine the surveillance of the footage from inside the corner club, Showalter's talking to Kaylee for quite some time.
Right.
So he says he doesn't know her. Now, the answer can be that if I logic this, how can both be true? Maybe he didn't know her before that night. Maybe he just chit-chatted her with. I could see how someone would say, I just met this person. I don't really know them. Leave me the hell out of it. I don't know them. I could get that, even if you spent all night talking to them. But it just sounds weird. And he's like, hey, I don't even know Kaylee. But then you got him on camera talking to Kaylee for a good portion
Right.
of the day. So I don't know.
Yeah. Plus, also, if he was that tight with Maddie, I mean, those two were inseparable. I know they had that little falling out with Kaylee moving back to Coeur d'Alene before all this happened. But, you know, I would be very, very, I'm very suspicious of him not knowing who Kaylee is if he was that tight with Maddie. I'm not, I'm not
Yeah,
seeing,
yeah,
but
a lot of the story doesn't make sense. It's not consistent. It's not, and not only that, but it's clear to me from looking at the police documents that they're lying. People are lying about their relationships with each other. They're lying about what they know about things. And maybe they're all afraid of getting roped into something because, hey, if you say the wrong thing, you're going to jail. Like, I don't know. Like,
Right.
it's nuts.
No, I agree. I agree. But it's unfortunately, I mean, our system is the best, I believe, in the world, but it's still it got plenty of faults, but it's the best system that we have at this time. I mean, it needs to be fixed though, because that shouldn't be that these rich guys, get out of this stuff, and then somebody like Brian, if he is innocent, again, if comes from modest means and could never hire a big, big time attorney or anything. Because I would think a slick attorney would go in there and just desecrate these idiots. I mean, I was sitting there thinking, I wish the damn attorneys from Delphi went over there, because those guys were like on fire and they were going at the judge and they were getting like reprimanded like hardcore, but they were just like, F you, this is bullshit. And
People,
they
I think
fought it
people
to the end and they
underestimate.
lost, but at least they gave it a valiant effort.
Yeah,
Ann Taylor was going through the motions there at the end. This was predetermined. That's what makes it sickening, is that she played her part, and then when her part was over with, she just checked out. And
yeah.
just like whatever, put her arm on his shoulder for a minute, and then later, I'll write a book about this, and ride off into the sunset, type of thing.
I don't think it looks good for her career having to take the plea deal for him, especially since it looked to a lot of people like a largely circumstantial case for you to roll over and play dead. And again, granted, at the end of the day, she has to observe her client's wishes. So she could have. There is a scenario in which Ann Taylor said, "I really recommend you don't take a plea on this. We fight it. It's a circumstantial case. However, you run the risk of us losing and putting you to death." And he said, "You know what? It's my decision. I'm taking the plea." And maybe it was against her wishes, but it didn't look good for her that in a largely circumstantial case, she didn't convince him that, look, this is worth fighting. They don't have anything. They can't place you in the house. They have no eyewitness putting you in the house. They've got a bunch of, but it is what it is. It played out how it played out. So what do you do?
Yeah. Jethro Troll has a good one here. Brian needs Mark Garagos. I thought of Garagos too. I can't stand that guy. Man, he's a bastard, like he would go in there and knock some heads. So I'd be all for that. I'd be all for it. I'm not a fan of his just because of some cases he's defended some people I didn't like, but I know defense attorneys, they have to defend everybody. It's not just the innocent, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. But yeah, I thought it was funny because I was thinking the same thing with Garagos.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good attorneys out there that I think would have given him a lot of, you know. And then Robin the Redneck says, and now the chance of him getting an appellate lawyer in Idaho is slim to none because, yeah, they're not going to bend over and do him any favors after what happened in their eyes. So, it's messed up, to say the least. It's messed up. But
I don't.
here's a good one before I forget or it passes me by. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Donna Lembo had a really good one right here. Garagos was on YouTube saying BK shouldn't have pled. So that's interesting that she saw something with Garagos in this case.
There's no way you should have pled with the circumstantial case. I mean, again, I keep going back to Bill Thompson's words, which were, when it became clear Ann Taylor was not going to be allowed to present alternative suspects, that's when they took the plea. And I think that's exactly what happened. Had she been allowed to actually say, hey, look, there are other people in this case that you overlooked that have better stories about why they would have done it, and you won't even allow us to talk about it. You basically call it conspiracy theory and will not allow us to even tell a jury about how other people had better motives or better opportunities than our guy, and that's it. We throw in the towel. If we're not allowed to even talk about it, and that's the reasonable doubt anybody would need in a jury, could somebody else have had a better motive to do it than the incel next door who didn't even know the girls and just randomly picked the house that night because they have no explanation of how he even picked the house. It was weak. And but if you can't tell the jury that there was other people who might have had actual reasons to do it, then what are you going to do?
And you know what I find sickening was that press conference at the end. What a goddamn joke.
It was a huge joke.
I
I
mean, seriously, like it was like Bill Thompson was gloating because he beat the defense as if he was playing poker and he was, going to go ahead and pull one over on them and at the last second and win the pot
I
because
was
he had nothing. I mean, he said he had nothing. He was almost like smiling about it. Like, and yeah, and he's in prison for life, but we had nothing. I mean, that's
yeah,
horrible.
right. What a win for him. And yeah, I was in the press conference. I was at the back. I raised my hand like 12 times to get a question answered. Never got called on. But I was texting someone during the press conference because there was, I think, 5 experts, right? There was Bill Thompson, there was Payne, there was the FBI guy, there was, I don't know, it was 5, I think. And as I was watching them come to the podium, I thought, okay, this is going to be exciting. The case is over. The gag order's been lifted. They're going to finally tell us something that we didn't know. That's going to be like a holy shit. And Bill Thompson got up and said nothing. The next guy got up and said nothing. The next guy got up and said nothing. Right. And I was like raising my hand. Excuse me. Maybe I missed something, but is there anything you're going to tell us that we haven't heard for 2.5 fucking years? Are you kidding me? After all of this, you're going to stand up here and tell us nothing that we didn't already know 2.5 years ago? How is that even possible?
Anyway. Yeah. And to be able to lie like that so easily and just say, you're going to have to trust us. You're going to have to wait and see all the evidence we've got. And of course, all the guilters the whole time have been saying, oh, they're going to have all this evidence on them. And it's like, they're still, giggling behind the scenes because he's in prison. But I mean, every argument that they made has now been completely debunked when you find out that none of the stuff that they were saying was true, from the incel crap, from the stalking to the social media to the Papa Rogers.
Right.
Any of it, like nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing.
A reporter even said, I remember this moment. A reporter even said in that press conference, early on, you told us this was a targeted attack. Can you finally tell us who was targeted? Well, we actually can't find any evidence of targeting. You told us, hold your horses. This is a targeted attack. The community is safe. It was it was targeted and isolated. And that's what the reporter said. You told us it was targeted and isolated. Can you finally tell us who was the target? Nah, there really wasn't a target. And we can't place Brian Koberger at the scene. We can't place him having any interest in any of the girls. We don't have any idea why he did it. We don't even know how he picked the house. But you told us it was an isolated and targeted attack. So how did you do that? Well, we're not going to talk about it. Case is over. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. All right. So ridiculous. And Payne, was just showing his inexperience. He had absolutely no business running an investigation. I know he was just on the local level and the feds were doing a lot of the yeoman's work behind the scenes, but he was still the face of that investigation on the local level. And I think he just looked like an absolute buffoon. I mean, he looked ridiculous. He doesn't even work in law enforcement. And I am telling you, I think, who should be investigated is every cop that's no longer on that police force. Why did a handful of them just jump out the window with their golden parachute and ride off into the sunset? What did they do in exchange for that?
Yeah.
That's what I wonder. I know that's super conspiratorial, but I'm just saying, like, it's awfully suspicious. And if you Google Brett Payne, University of Idaho, nothing. My wife went on the website, the university website, nothing. In the staff directory, nothing. So what the hell is he doing?
There was a moment early in the document release where I almost felt like maybe Moscow Police Department wasn't as at fault behind what happened as we think. And here's what the logic was: the fact that they rushed out to be the very first agency to drop all of their documents on the police report. Until that time, they themselves were under a gag order by the judge. They weren't allowed to tell you about anything. They were literally specifically the people who were gagged. The families technically had a constitutional right to talk about it if they wanted to. You really can't gag the family, but you can gag the prosecution. You can gag the law enforcement. So if they gagged the law enforcement, let's just assume for a second that law enforcement themselves thought this is a shit show, but we're not allowed to talk about it because we're under a gag order and we can't talk about it. So the second those MFers say that the gag's released, we'll dump all the documents and you can start looking at it yourself because we don't want any part of this. Take a look at the evidence yourself. This isn't necessarily our fault. We knew about this shit, so it had that air about it. Like, are they rushing to drop the documents because they want people to see, how this wasn't their fault? They were forced to keep this gagged by law, and right. Maybe some of them, I don't know. As I went along and I saw other evidence to think that maybe they don't want that shit out, but they were awfully quick at releasing that. I mean, like really quick. During the press conference, they're like, we're going to dump 317 documents on you this afternoon. And I'm like, why so quick? Like they could have delayed a little bit, but they didn't. They came right out with it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It does seem very, very suspicious. I think that they dumped it all like this because they thought the average person would be so overwhelmed with all the information that it was almost like, you know what, F this. I'm tired of this case. I'm done with it. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Because if they would have done it in dribs and drabs, it would have been going on for a long time, but you'd have had people still interested as little stuff came out here and there. But when you dump it all like they did to the defense in a big, gigantic pile and said, here, you make sense of it. I mean, I've said it before. I mean, you had both sides uh, getting paid by the tax dollars of the people of that county and state. And to me, that's a damn waste of money that you've got the prosecution putting everything in a big, gigantic dumpster and throwing it on their property. It's like a guy paying his alimony with pennies, and dumping it on the lawn. Like, yeah, okay, you did it, but that's like bullshit. Okay.
I can't remember exactly when she did it. I think it was during the trial, maybe a year or so into the trial. But I did see Ann Taylor quit working for the state of Idaho and quit being a prosecutor for them, and stated essentially that she didn't think the state was going in the right direction, and so she wanted to get out. Now, I don't know what exactly her beef was. It sounded like it had to do with indigent workers or something like that. So maybe, but whatever the case was being, Ann Taylor actually dropped out of being on the state of Idaho's payroll. And the reason I found out about it, because somebody corrected me, and because I said, hey, these people are getting paid by the same paycheck at the end of the day. Ann Taylor and the prosecution are both getting paid the same. They're like, well, no, she's a private person. I'm like, no, she's not. She was a public defender. And then I looked it up, and in the middle of the trial, she apparently quit as a public defender and kind of went into private practice or with somebody else as well, and said that she didn't want to be part of the state's thing. So it was interesting to me to find that out.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because, that to me, I think the prosecution should have to hand over the stuff in an organized fashion. I mean, what is the point of playing stupid, high school games with hiding information? I mean, just be honest. If you're truly in the business of putting the guilty behind bars, then just play fair. I mean, I just don't understand the games. And
Right.
maybe these attorneys just think it's like sport. I don't quite understand it, but I think it's ridiculous. And again, when you're playing with people's lives and their freedom, and you got somebody going to prison for the end of time on some really shaky stuff that come to find out they had absolutely zero evidence on them. To me, they should have gone right to his cell and unlocked the damn door and let him out.
Yeah.
But I know that's not going to happen. I'm just saying,
Yeah. Right.
in a perfect world, I mean, to me, I mean, if anybody in this audience or you or I were in that situation, that's what you would want. You'd want to be exonerated and let out, if you truly were innocent. Now, if he did it, and I'm not saying he didn't, I'm just saying I don't know. But if he did, then that's a different story, and that obviously changes things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Justin Bond brings up an interesting point, which I've thought as well, that he's a patsy. He got picked for a reason, is what it seems to me. And I would agree with you. I think that he was picked up, maybe from those traffic stops. I saw that other one was released, that full traffic stop of him getting a speeding ticket. To me, he didn't come across as weird in that stop. He was real cordial with the police officer, and the cop was nice back to him. So it was a whole bunch of nothing, I thought. But
Did,
somehow or another, he ended up on the short list of people that they wanted to be able to pass the buck to, and maybe they involved him in it as like the brains of the. They fed into his ego. Maybe they brought Bethany over there or Dylan and tried to entice him with that, and then made him seem like he was such a smart guy and that they needed his help, and he somehow gets rooked into this thing, and then maybe they use his knife, or somehow he touches that handle while they're doing whatever they were doing, and he's left holding the bag. I mean,
yeah.
that is certainly possible. I mean, we've seen it before. I mean, JFK, the ultimate example of what a patsy is. Lee
Right.
Harvey Oswald. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Lee?
I mean, it's a possibility. Yeah. I've always maintained, my gut tells me that somehow Koberger was involved in it, but that he wasn't alone. That's always been my gut feeling, that he was involved, but he wasn't alone. And more than likely, he's just either refusing to turn in other people, either out of fear for his own life, that if he turns in the people who was in with him, that they're still out there and they're going to get to him, or out of some kind of noble, even bad guys have some kind of code of honor, So, but I've always felt that that was a possibility. But there's certainly, in my opinion, not outside the realm of possibility that he was lured there. I mean, I don't know if you saw my video about the whole, and I don't want to go into the details about it too long, but about the whole like Molly McMichaels and the DoorDash delivery and how she couldn't find
Yes.
the house and how she had to circle around and around. How do we
Yeah.
know Brad Koberger wasn't also told meet at this location, and he's circling around and around trying to find the location, because Google doesn't take you right to the house directly. We know this from Molly McMichaels. So what if Koberger was circling the area because he was told to meet there? And so what if he was just lured into the area to be there at the right time and place? Or maybe somebody was saying, hey, help us at this point in time, clean up or whatever, show up. Maybe, again, his involvement in it is sketchy to know what exactly it was. What I don't think it was is one person who went in there at the time frame they said and did all those things by himself. But that's me.
Joanne
And
Murdoch's got some good sense here, though, Lee. She says, "Me and you talk a lot of good sense." So
well, that's hopefully true.
thank
You
you,
wouldn't
Joanne. That's very nice.
you wouldn't know it from seeing some of the people that call me, you're an effing idiot. Devil's advocate, you're an idiot.
Or they didn't see the text message exchange between us. So, what do you want to talk about tonight? I don't know. I'll shoot you an email later.
Did
I have
you,
no
by the
idea.
way, did you hear about the happy face killer wanting Koberger moved to him in Oregon?
I did. He didn't he reach out to the Hewerman too?
Oh, I don't know about
He
that. I only
did.
heard
I
about,
think he did. I think I did a video on it.
wow.
He reached out to Hewerman. He must be like the ambassador of serial killers.
And wait, he's going to protect people, right? How old is
Like
that guy
those
now?
golfers that get the gold the jacket.
Yeah.
He's getting the call that he's getting his jacket.
I
Like
guess he's getting his second round of 15 minutes of fame by saying he'll help out with all these serial killers.
yeah, Jesperson. Yeah, what a trip. I know somebody that corresponded with him for a while and was supposed to get some kind of like really juicy interview with him.
Well, hey, you know what? I'm in
Jesperson
Oregon.
pulled the plug at the last minute and had been just toying with the guy. So he's kind of like that. He's kind of shifty.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm in Oregon. Maybe I should go see if he wants to have me stop by and visit him and get
There
his
you
little story
go.
about why he wants to help
Go in
Koberger.
one of those urinal or those stalls where he put his little happy face and hang out and wait for him. But yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, it is funny how these people come out of the woodwork, like a Jesperson like that. It's kind kind of funny, but we're at an hour and 10 minutes, and I always limit the lives here to an hour and a half. So we got
Yeah. In fact, I have another engagement coming up that I'm kind of pushing against too. So
yeah. If you need to roll early, that's understandable, Lee. So you do what you need to do, my friend.
yeah,
Um,
if you don't mind, I will think I take the exit because I'm hearing stirring around the place, and I think I'm supposed to go someplace. So
yeah, no problem, dude. I can close her out. No
thank you
problem.
so much for having me on again, Pete.
You
It's always
bet,
a pleasure
Lee.
talking.
Always good to have you, my friend.
You bet. Take it easy,
All right,
everybody.
take it easy. All right, very cool. Always like having Lee on, and he's a lot of fun. So he and I are about the same age, and we're both retired. So this is kind